Hello, English 113 class. My name is Dr. Max Hohner, and I'm your instructor for the course. I wanted to record this short video for you to tell you just a little bit more about the assignment, the Infosphere that's due at the end of this week. It's just the first assignment that's a little bit longer and worth a few more points, so I wanted to give you a little more description of it. The description written out on Canvas should be plenty of information for you to go on. It's a pretty straightforward assignment, but I know that sometimes it's easier to hear about something rather than just reading it on paper, and a verbal explanation might be useful, especially since we're an online class and we're not meeting in person. So that's why I'm recording this video and sharing it with you. I'll post a number of videos like this throughout the quarter. Not every week, as you see, this is week 3 and this is the first video, but at least 4, 5, 6 times, something like that. And it'll usually be when we have a longer, bigger assignment due, like the Infosphere, or if there's just some information like later in the quarter in a few weeks when we do peer review that you need more information to just kind of, again, to hear it out loud, to make sure it's clear. And I hope this is true for my communication via Canvas, but if you haven't heard it already, please email me, Canvas message me, any questions you have. If something about the assignment instructions is unclear, please reach out to me. We can either email or Canvas message back and forth, or if you want to talk like this, you prefer talking out loud, we can set up a Zoom appointment. So just reach out to me and we'll take care of that. Now the Infosphere, it's not really that much of a bigger assignment. It's still a small assignment, but it's a little bit bigger than the discussion posts you've been doing so far. And it might be a little bit different than the work you've done so far, depending on what kinds of classes you've taken in the past. So wanted to just explain it real quickly. I think the description of what the Infosphere is pretty clear on Canvas, but it's basically just a sphere of information. So when you look at a topic and you're researching a topic, let's say take climate change, for example, you find a number of articles on that topic, and then if you look at what those articles say to each other, because when articles are written on the same topic, they're basically having a conversation, they talk to each other. Sometimes they quote each other, other times it's just the ideas and how they discuss the ideas. There's a connection there to one or several of the other articles. So they're talking to each other in that sense. So an Infosphere then, or a sphere of information, is just a fancy way of saying you're looking at the conversation the sources that discuss the topic are having. And when you write an Infosphere for a class like this, you're basically giving a report of that information. So with this particular assignment, what I'm asking you to do is take a look at 4 sources and report that conversation to an audience. The first source is an open letter, and then the other 3 sources can be should be a variety of sources, and I list some examples. So if you're looking at the assignment sheet, and I should have mentioned opening the assignment sheet for the Infosphere and looking at it while you're listening to this video is a good idea. But if you look at that, there's a highlighted portion that says pick 3 of the following 5 types of sources. So there's a variety of sources there: a scholarly article, a news article, an opinion piece, a blog, or a set of social media posts. I want you to pick 3 of those, because then you have a variety of sources. So the open letter plus 3 of those. And I mean three different types, not 3 or 2 of the same type. So those will be your 4 sources, and they'll all be talking to each other. And then your objective is just to do like a summary of the conversation they're having. So the first step is to pick an open letter. There's 7 choices. There's an open letter by John Leguizamo, and then there's a webpage I've linked here that has 6 of the most famous open letters from history. And an open letter, I should define that too, is just a letter written to have a very wide audience. It's written and it's open, so like almost anyone can read it. It's not written like to have like a niche audience with really specific terminology. It's written with the intention of anyone could read this. So topics that almost anyone could understand and written in a way that almost anyone could read it, with a few exceptions. And then it could be addressed to an individual, like some of the examples from that site I linked, where there's 6 of the most famous ones. Some of those are written to specific individuals, but even if they are, that the letters that are written to specific individuals are still intended to be read by a wide audience. It's not like a very personal, just correspondence or something. That's an open letter. So open letters, I think, are just a really interesting genre of writing where we can do a lot of fun analysis. So we'll work with open letters some throughout the quarter. So your first step in this process is to pick an open letter, read it, think about it, analyze it, maybe jot down some notes. And then the second step is to identify a research topic. So what is this letter talking about? For instance, the John Leguizamo letter, which is the first example there, he's talking about the representation of Latino people in film and how they're underrepresented. So that's the topic. The first one on the other website is Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail, which is one of the best letters ever written, and it's about civil rights. So each one has a topic, and the ones on that website are different time periods in history, but all with pretty well-known events that if you need to Google or Wikipedia look up what was happening that the letter addresses, it's pretty easy to find that information pretty quickly and get an understanding of the topic. So pick a letter, identify the research topic, and then find 3 more sources, 3 different types of sources from that list of 5 types of sources that are on that topic. So if you pick the Leguizamo letter, you would find 3 of the 5 different types of sources on the representation of Latino people in Hollywood films. If you pick Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail, you would find 3 more sources on civil rights, so on and so forth. So once you have your 4 sources, read all of them, annotate them, take notes on them using the strategies from last week's lesson, and then write your Infosphere. So again, you're summing up the conversation they're having. What's important about this is that you don't talk about the sources just one at a time, like the open letter says this, then source 2 says this, source 3 says this. Think about what they're saying to each other. Look for connections, and then describe those connections to your reader. So you're taking several things you've read and condensing what those things say to each other into a relatively short space. That's what an infosphere is. It's a report of a sphere of information, and in this case, your sphere of information is one of these open letters, its topic, and the 3 additional sources you find on that topic. The purpose of this assignment is to just get you acquainted with research, with finding different types of research, and looking for connections between those pieces of research, because we'll use research all throughout the quarter. It's also to help you practice analysis and those critical reading, critical thinking skills we talked about last week. Finally, the last thing is you can either do this assignment as a traditional, document that you write, and if you do that, it should be, about 3 or 4 paragraphs, maybe 2, just over 2 pages, something like that. Basically an intro, maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs on the conversation of the sources. If depending on how long your paragraphs are, that could be 2 or 3 paragraphs for that body, and then a conclusion to wrap everything up. But when I've taught this in English 113 in person, I do it as a presentation assignment. So if you would rather make a PowerPoint, that works too. Just make sure you cover all the information and that you spend about as much time on it as you would if you were writing it as a paper. But I like to offer, when I can, I like to offer opportunities to do things in different formats. So either a document or a PowerPoint. At the very end of the assignment instructions, if you're looking at those, there's some questions, like 6 questions. It says, for each of your 3 chosen sources, answer these questions. You don't have to answer all of those about each source. Don't think of it as source 1, I'm going to hit these 6 questions. Source 2, I'm going to hit these 6 questions. Your Infosphere will be way longer than it needs to be if you do that. These are just questions to help you think of how to analyze and synthesize the sources. Synthesis means bringing together. So they're having that conversation, you're explaining how they come together. So you don't need to answer all those questions for each source. It's just as you analyze them and try to, in a relatively short space, sum up what 4 sources say to each other, you might need some help thinking of what to ask, how to analyze them. So those questions are meant to guide you and help you figure that out. You don't have to answer all of them. So hopefully that clears everything up and the assignment's really clear. Again, please email me, Canvas message me, or set up a Zoom appointment with me throughout the week. I love talking to students, getting to know you more, especially when it's online and we don't meet in person. I love the opportunity to get to know whoever wants to talk more. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I want all the assignment instructions to be as clear as possible, and that can be a little bit harder to do online. So that's why I say reach out to me with any questions, but that's also why I record these videos. So just, thank you for being in the course. I'm looking forward to working with you this quarter. I hope you have a great week. I look forward to reading your assignments.